Ms. Freckleton to start us off as we normally do with everything we do at Steths by asking for the presence of the Lord. And so I'm going to ask Ms. Freckleton, who was one of the grade 9 coordinators this year, so her students will be going into grade 10. She's one of our maths and IT teachers. So Ms. Freckleton, where do I find you to unmute you? And you just raise your hand for me, please, or try saying something so that you come to the front page.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
All right, so go ahead, unmute yourself now. Or unmute yourself, Mrs. Freckleton, and go ahead.
Okay, sir. Hi, sir.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, let us pray. Eternal Father, as I come before you this beautiful Independence Eve, I want to thank you for your grace and the many mercies you have bestowed upon us. You have kept us safe and have been providing us according to each and every one of us individual needs. We have faced many challenges, dear Lord, that you have helped us to overcome, and we are indeed grateful. Thank you for allowing us to meet in this fashion. We are about to discuss matters pertaining to our Steths family and the upcoming new school year. I pray for your guidance and your intervention. Be with Mr. Wellington and his team, dear Lord, as they lead from the forefront. Let our discussions be meaningful and objective. Help us to work together so that our school year will be less challenging, dearest Jesus, and more productive. Continue to bless us individually and collectively, Lord. In your name I pray. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Freckleton. And let me welcome everyone to this meeting. I really appreciate the fact that you would have taken time out to be here today, although it's a day off for most of you. It's Independence Day. And so I know many of you would have taken most of the day to relax. And therefore, I'm happy that you would have taken on the challenge of meeting with us today. I wanted to have made sure that we met before the week ended, and I could not have found another time that would have allowed us to meet outside of today or on the weekend. And I chose to meet today rather than on the weekend. So thank you very much for coming. We have a few teachers in the group with us today as well as Mr. Kogel, one of our vice principals. Now, just to say that the format of the meeting is, I will start by just giving you some updates, but most of the meeting we are going to ask that you use the opportunity to ask questions and clarifications as to how school will be functioning in September, so that you can leave here with a clearer understanding of what will be taking place for the new school year. We want to ask you as well, if you have questions and you don't really want to talk, you can ask the questions in the chat section. So I've asked everybody to type the name of the child and the class the child is in, so that we can have a record of the persons who attended today. Ms. Freckleton, I'm going to ask you or Mr. Kogel to just monitor the chat, and if there are questions asked there, see if we can answer them before the meeting is finished. We had a very good meeting on Tuesday.
Last one.
Let me just, please, I'm asking that let me just mute again. Please, I'm asking to ensure that your mic remain muted. If your mic is not muted, everything you say, everyone else will be able to hear. So just please ensure that unless you're addressing the meeting, your mic remains muted. All right, so everybody's aware that we have had a really challenging year everywhere in Jamaica this year. All schools, the entire country would have had a serious challenge as it relates to what would have taken place regarding the COVID-19 situation. Now, we are still not sure where we're going from here in terms of what's happening with COVID. Up to 2 weeks ago, I think most of us would have been fairly confident in terms of the path that we are on. But I'm sure over the last week and a half, we would have become more concerned based on the number of positive cases that would have been identified and the fact that we are not sure where these, well, we hear that many of these cases are imported cases, but we are not sure when these persons would have come in and where we are in terms of the spread. We met with the Minister of Education yesterday just to give him an update as to where schools are in terms of the reopening and the preparation we're making, some of the things that are going to be required and so on. We also asked that schools be provided with more information as it relates to the positive cases that have been identified and what the likely impact there will be on school reopening. However, as of now, where we are still making plans for all schools to reopen in September. Different schools will operate differently during the period, but I will focus on what we will be doing as a school at Steths come September. So the first piece of information I want to share is the fact that for your students, all students at Steths will be attending school, whole day school, meaning from 8 to 3, every day of the school year. Well, as long as things remain as they are now, or if they improve. So we will start school with everybody attending school every day of the week. For the first week though, the grades 10 and 11 will not return to school until the Wednesday. So we will start on Monday with grade 7 and 8, then grade 9 will join them on Tuesday, and the grades 10 and 11 will join on Wednesday. We are, however, I think Mr. Kogo will speak to that when he gets a chance to speak, but we're expecting that the grade 10 students, that's those students going into grade 10. When I talk about your grade now, I'm talking about the grade you will be in September. So I will not be referring to grade 9 students because you are now being promoted to grade 10. So those students who are going into grade 10, on registration day, we'll be expecting everyone to be here. We'll have a meeting with the students. So we're expecting the students to be here and we'll meet with them. I think you already know what date it is that has been set aside for you. And as I said, Mr. Kogo will speak about the activities for that day. However, as I said, when you resume school on Wednesday, September 9th, that's grades 10 and 11, you will all be expected to be at school every day as long as school is in session. And that will remain like that unless something changes as it relates to COVID. I know the concern will be how will we be able to accommodate so many students and have them physically and socially distancing themselves. So first of all, for September, the stipulation for classrooms will be that students must be at least 3 feet apart and they must be in their mask. So every student will be expected to wear a mask to school, and while they are in classes, they must be at least 3 feet apart and in their mask. So first of all, let me remind parents or ask parents to constantly remind the children that it is important that they wear their mask, especially when they are in the company of others. Anything within 6 feet of another person will require that you have on your mask. If you are further apart, if there's nobody around, then you can always lower your mask. You can lower your mask, although it doesn't mean that you cannot leave the virus on a surface somewhere else without your mask. So you try and keep on your mask as much as possible. And we want you to encourage your children to start practicing that from now. So for the rest of August, when they are going out on the streets or leaving home, make sure that they understand that they should be wearing their mask all the time, right? And that is something that we're going to be very strict on. For our classes at grades 10 and 11, the classes are not normally very big, excepting for maths, English, IT, social study, for some social studies and some POB classes. Usually the class sizes are fairly small and students will have a lot of room or a lot of space inside the rooms that they have classes. For the classes where it is larger, we will try and use larger rooms for those classes, or we may ask the teacher to allow some students to operate for that class outside of their classroom in specific areas that we will have for students to sit and do work on their own, whether it is work from their textbook or work that will be done online. We have adjusted our school policy to allow students to take their cell phones and their tablets or their tablets or laptops to school. But we want to remind you that there is a responsibility that students will have as it relates to how they use those tools. So first of all, any phone that rings in a class will be confiscated and it will not be returned. And the teacher or the dean of discipline will not be asked to keep it. It will be handed to me personally, and I will not return them. So everybody knows how to turn their phone on to silent, right? Everybody knows how to turn off the ringer. The purpose of students having the phone is not to be used for making phone calls or taking phone calls. It does not include for general browsing, but should only be used specifically for school-related activities between 8 and 3 o'clock. And we will not accept that a student made a mistake in using it for something else. So I want you to remind them that we will allow them to have the phones, but they will have a responsibility of using it wisely. And if they are not sure or they don't have confidence in using it wisely, then they probably should do without using it. Just to say that while we will be having full classes and we will be having a full or regular timetable, we will be having face-to-face classes for all subjects with all teachers and all students. There are going to be, first of all, occasions where we will be blending the online learning platforms, the online learning classes with the regular face-to-face classes. And for grade 11 students in particular, students going into grade 11, it is very important that we understand that a lot of catching up has to be done, and we will have to use a lot more time out of your day for schoolwork. So your schoolwork will not be restricted to 8 to 3, right? A lot of work, some teachers may arrange for you to have online classes in the nights when you get home or on weekends during the holidays, because as you know, your grade 10 year was cut very short, and I'm sure you know that most of the syllabus is usually done in grade 10. So we will have now to use the next 8 or 9 months that you have in grade 11 to cover all the work that normally is done in grade 11, plus all the work that you would have missed from March to June. We know that you would have done some work online, but there are some persons who did not do as much as we would have hoped, and we have to make sure that they are not left too far behind. So those students who are going into grade 11, you are reminded that you will have a heavy workload. We have already decided that you will not get the chance to go on work experience unless it is during the summer next year, because we cannot afford those 2 weeks of classes that you would normally have taken out for work experience. We remind you as well that normally your SBAs are due at the end of February, which means that you should complete most of the syllabus by the end of February, which gives us 6 months, to cover most of the syllabus, having already lost approximately 4 months out of last school year. So you have to, grade 11 students, understand that you have to make the commitment to do the extra work. We hope that you would have been using the summer and all the time that you have to not just only read back some of what you would have done, try and understand everything that was done up to March, but also to start reading ahead in your various subject areas. We do not want to find any excuse at the end of grade 11 as to why you may not have done well, right? We have enough time. We have enough time that we can catch up. We have enough resources where we can make use of the time that we have ahead of us. And bearing in mind that we don't know what will happen, it is possible that at some time again during the school year, COVID may spike, and we may have to absent ourselves from school again. So it's important that whatever time we have available to us, we will make use of it. The grade 10, 9 students going to grade 10. Again, many of you will be doing subjects that will be new to you. We have to hit the ground running, right? Meaning that from day one, we have to be prepared, we have to be focused, and we have to make use of all the opportunities that we have. We will have to be making use of both online classes as well as face-to-face classes. So every student we have assigned an email address to every single student, a school email address. So everybody will have an email address, that is a school email address that we will be able to identify you. We will also be using it to give every parent an account, a user account and password where they can now access RenWeb. I know from you have come to grade 7, you have heard that we have RenWeb and we want parents to have access to it. Well, we'll be giving you access to that as soon as the school term starts, so parents can use their access to RenWeb for messaging, for checking on schoolwork, to check on students' grades, and of course, you'll only be able to check on your student, your child's work. So we will be giving you those email addresses and the account username and passwords so that you can have access to those to your account. When we get to school, we will have one of our major concerns as it relates to physical and social distancing is the issue of break and lunchtime, as well as coming to and from school. Let me address the issue of coming to and from school. Obviously, the school doesn't have control over how you arrive at school. However, we want to encourage parents to ensure that they know how the child is coming to school, remind them that the taxis and the buses, we should not be jumping into any taxi and any bus. We should not be traveling in these crowded buses where sometimes students are sitting on each other and all of that. That is not going to be good, and it is going to create an issue that all of us may suffer. So the transportation arrangements, standing up and in the bus park and chatting and idling and wasting time, obviously is not going to be good. And we have to start educating our children about how they function in this time, just trying to encourage them to do the right things and to protect themselves, because at the end of the day, self-preservation has to be important. It is important what we do for ourselves. It is not going to always be possible for persons to be protecting others. And as parents, you want to remind your child that if they get ill, it is possible for them to survive a little bit better than you as parents. But when they take it home, they are going to put you as parents at risk. So it is important that they do what they are doing, not just to protect themselves, but to protect those who they live with, right? I know there is the concern that this sounds dangerous and it sounds risky, but the truth is that we don't know when this is going to end. We don't want dead children or dead persons to be dealing with, but at the same time, we have to do what we can to protect ourselves. And at the end of the day, we have a responsibility to ourselves. When they get to school, we will have adequate sanitization stations, wash hand stations in place to ensure that they constantly keep their hands clean, they constantly keep their hands sanitized. And we will, of course, be enforcing the wearing of the mask so that they protect, each person protect the other person, right? So we will be enforcing our rules, and we will hold people accountable. During the break and lunchtime, where we normally have crowded lines at the tuck shop, the ticket office, and the canteen, we are going to be making separate arrangements. One, by allowing for a rolling lunch and break period, meaning that rather than just having the half-hour break time or the 1 hour lunch time, we will allow students to have their break or lunch at almost any time throughout the day. So the teachers will allow them to leave classes at odd time to go and buy their ticket or to collect their lunches and so on. We'll also be putting in additional additional stations. We'll also be putting on additional stations for serving at the tuck shop and at the canteen. So rather than having just 3 or 4 lines, we may end up with a dozen lines for people to serve from, so we don't have crowds trying to access their lunch or break times, right? And of course, the common sense thing to do for a student is if there's a line, you don't have to join it. Just wait on the periphery, on the outside, until you see that the line has dwindled down and there isn't a crowd there, right? So we will all have to do these little things, and I expect that the senior students, the grade 10 and 11 and 6th form students will lead by example, right? We expect that they will lead by example. We can't have this thing where the older you get, the more foolish you seem to be, because you seem to have a disregard for rules, right, and regulations. So we're going to ask that the senior students lead by example. Of course, we are also asking that obviously if there's any sign at all that a student is ill, that they do not attempt to come to school, right? We'll be doing temperature checks, we'll be doing random checks just to make sure. And obviously, if a child appears to be ill, they will have to be pulled immediately, right? But we want it to start at home where you check each morning, are you okay? Is there anything wrong with you before you send them off, right? Because remember, not only will you be putting them at risk, you'll be putting the persons, everybody who they comes in contact with at risk. I've also said, I've sent a survey, I've sent out a questionnaire. I don't know if everybody has seen it already. I will share it with you. We have asked parents to indicate some information relating to their children as it relates to whether or not they have any illnesses that they should be concerned about, the issue of whether or not they have connections, tablets, and so on. But on the issue of illnesses, if you know your child has what is called a comorbidity, that is a particular illness that puts them at risk, we are also asking that depending on how severe it is, you not send the child to school. It may mean then that we will have to make special arrangement for them to get the work done online, right? But don't just keep them and not have the dialogue with us. I've sent out the surveys, so I will get the information so that we can tabulate it, and we can look at the students who have concerns about whether or not they will be attending school in September. As it relates to tablets and access to the internet, obviously we can't solve everybody's problems. We'll be making efforts for some grade 10 and 11 students to get tablets through different programs, the government program for students on part, plus students who we would have known, they would have been here for 3 or 4 years already. So we know they are needy students, and we know their parents are not going to be able to afford a tablet and so for them. So we are going to be trying to help some of those students, especially those at grades 10 and 11. We also know that internet connection is a problem in some communities, and that is one of the reasons why we are saying we will have school for everybody, because some of them staying at home will be lost and left behind. So we have a very large campus where we can accommodate everybody. We also have internet access on campus that we have improved, so persons can come and have access on the campus. If a student has to stay home because of illness during the week, they can also look at the option of coming on the campus in the evenings when everybody's gone, or on weekends to have access to the internet. Right? So we're trying to make every arrangement that is possible so that everyone will be able to participate as much as possible. I think I've spoken for quite a while. I'm going to ask Mr. Kogel just to say a few words, well, maybe more than a few words. Mr. Kogel. Where's Mr. Kogel? Can you raise your hand or attempt to speak? Let me unmute you if you are still muted. All right, let me just, I see some persons have raised their hands. Let me just unmute Mr. Kogel. Let me unmute Mr. Kogel. All right, hold on just a second.
No, yeah.
Mr. Kogel, can you unmute yourself for me, please? Can you unmute? You're not unmuting.
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead for me. Go ahead, Mr. Kogel.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me say happy holidays to everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your holidays to be with us this evening. I'm going to address the students moving on to grade 10 first. I know that there's a lot of anxiety and persons wanting to know which pool they will be in, etc. So I'm going to start there. First of all, I like to let everyone know that the subject selection is an ongoing process. It's not yet completed.
Okay.
It's my intention to have it completed by next Friday, after which students will be informed as to which pool and which class that they will be placed in. Why the subject selection is still going on is that after the first round of selection, some subjects would not have had enough students for us to have a class for that subject. As such, I would have to contact those students who chose a particular subject that is not being offered for them to make some changes. The process has started. I would have contacted some students and parents, but there are a number of other students who I need to contact, so I intend on doing that next week so we can end the process. So again, as soon as it is completed, the students will be informed as to which class and which pool they will be in. As Mr. Wellington said, on the day of registration, we intend to do what we call a simulation. Basically, the students, again, they would be in their form rooms, they would be given their timetables, and they would, at that point, again, if there is any issues relating to their subject selection, then we can have them addressed. I know with all the challenges, a student entering grade 10, it's added pressure. Reason being, many of them, although they are choosing the subjects, they are still unsure as to which career path they want to take. But rest assured, we are here to help them along. And that is why that day of registration is important that they come out. So any issues relating to subject selection can be addressed. I have been, well, many students have been contacting me and parents. You can feel free to get to me. I will post my number in the chat. So persons who need to talk to me, I make myself available. So that is it, in particular for the grade 9 students moving on to grade 10. There are some students, I don't know if they are online. I've yet to make contact with them. So if you have not selected your subject, or parents, if your child has not yet selected any subjects, I think it's crucial that you contact me as soon as possible. That's it in regards to subject selection and moving on to grade 10. I don't know if there's a particular question. Everywhere I go, always by my side. Does anyone have a particular question about subject selection? No?
Sir?
Yes?
Sir, the grade, is this a meeting with the grade 10 and 11 students or just the grade, prospective grade 11?
Can you repeat?
I was wondering if this was just a meeting for the students for the grade 11, or is it a combined meeting?
It is a combined meeting. So at the start I said I'm addressing those moving on to grade 10 first.
But because I thought it was just for those who are going into grade 11, so that's why I was wondering.
Oh, no, ma, it's a combined meeting.
Okay, thanks, sir.
You're welcome. All right, I'm seeing a question asking if the students should wear uniform on registration day. In the past, the students were not required to wear uniform. Mr. Wellington, if you're online, can you help me with this one? I know we want to do some sort of simulation for the students. So I would, the answer to that is that I would say no, they don't have to wear uniform on that day, but since they are coming to a school activity, they must be appropriately dressed. So a jeans and a t-shirt will be sufficient for that day. Any other questions? All right, let me address another issue now. It relates to both the grade 9s and 10s and in regards to the school report. Many of you would have come by the school in the past week to collect the reports. For some students at grade 9, you would have noticed that there was no English language grade for some classes. And at grade 10, some students did not have a human and social biology grade or a biology grade. I must apologize for that. The dates were set, the teachers were informed, but one particular teacher was having some difficulties, some challenges with her RenWeb account. We have sorted that out. So those grades are being recorded on RenWeb. So all the students who have been affected, they will get an updated report reflecting those scores. So again, I must apologize, but at the time when the reports were to be distributed, we could not get those grades on. So those grades will be recorded on RenWeb, and as I said, you can get an updated report. I would say when the students come to registration, they can request that report.
Mr. Kogel, you remind us of what are the dates again for registration for grades 10 and 11?
Right, I'm trying to find it as well, sir.
All right, we know it's the week. Is it the week of August 24th?
That's the week, yes, sir.
All right, it's the week of August 24th. But we will send out reminders. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Anything else? Or just to say for the grade 11 students going into grade 11, it is possible that during the last 2 weeks before school, that starting August 24th to August 31st. Or let me say August 24th to the week of August 24th and 31st, we may ask some students to come in to make some arrangements regarding their SBAs. So some teachers may ask you to meet with them during that those last 2 weeks, not every day, maybe a day, to make some arrangements in terms of your preparation that you will have to go through for your SBAs. All right, I see some hands up. I'm going to take those hands that are raised. Mr. Kogler, are you finished?
I'm finished for now, Mr. Wellington, yes.
All right, so let me just take the hands of those persons who are up. Victoria McDonald, your hand is up. I don't know if you wanted to ask something. Victoria? No? All right, so let me lower your hand. Remember, you have to unmute your mic. You have to unmute. All right, so no. So I see that P30 Pro has unmuted his mic and he had his hand up, so you can go ahead. No? P30 Pro, all right, so Galaxy A20. Galaxy A20. All right, why did it? The persons who are asking are not seen. Is it that you're trying to unmute and can't unmute? All right, let me just go again. Victoria, did you want to say something? Victoria, no. Sharon Robinson. Sharon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. All right, Sharon, just hold a second. Let me mute everyone. The problem I have is that let me mute everybody again. And I'm going to unmute Sharon. Or Sharon probably needs to try and unmute herself.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So my question is, what is the class arrangement for the students for September? What size classes are you going to have? How many students are going to be in the classes? Are you going to have different additional teachers, or what is the arrangement?
No, we won't have additional teachers. The government not giving us additional teachers. So our class, based on the stipulation from the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health, the size, our classroom sizes, most of them, we have some smaller ones, but the regular classroom size at Steths can accommodate 32 students. So we will have classes up to that size, but for grades 10 and 11, we hardly have classes that size. Usually the classes at grades 10 and 11, as I said at the outset, excepting for maths, English, IT, some POB and some social studies classes. Usually the classes are 25 or less, some as low as 15 students in a class. So that's for grades 10 and 11. For grades 7 to 9, they are usually a little bit bigger. So for grades 7 to 9, we will not have everybody in a class being in the classroom at the same time.
Oh.
All right.
Okay, sir.
All right. Anybody?
I didn't know the classrooms were so big.
Sorry?
I didn't know the classrooms were so big, can accommodate up to 32.
Yeah, man.
At physical distance?
Yes, I don't know if you have been in the meeting for the entire time, but I did say that the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health has changed the physical distancing for classrooms to 3 feet apart, and but they must be wearing a mask. All right, so when we had the grades 11 back, when the grade 11s came back for their 3-week classes, at that time it was 6 feet apart, and we were able to accommodate 22 in a class. And all of that, remember the Ministry of Health.
The grade 11s came back already, for the exam.
Yeah, they came back for CXC classes for 3 weeks, right? And remember, all of that, the Ministry of Health would have checked and you had to approve before we were allowed to resume. I don't know if they'll be coming back again for September, seeing that they will have all schools this time and not just secondary schools. But as I said, for the grade 11s, we had 22 in a room, 6 feet apart.
Okay, sir. So have you provided masks from the school that we will purchase, or what?
All right, for masks, we will have masks on sale, but you can provide your own. So 2 things. One, we'll have school masks, so branded masks, I think for $300. Those will be on sale. If a student comes to the gate without a mask, they will not be allowed on without the mask. So if they want a school mask, they still have to come on with a mask. So what we will be doing, we'll have some of the N95 masks, that's the disposable masks. Those will be at the gate, being sold for $100. So if students come without the mask, we will not allow them on without, so they'll either have to buy that $100 mask at the gate or go and get a mask somewhere else. All right?
I was wondering if we're making the mask mandatory, because I was wondering if somebody was going to come with the various types and colors.
No, we are not going to make it mandatory for them to buy a mask from the school, but we are asking that they use only solid colors. So no advertisement on the mask, no branding. It has to be a solid color, black, white, blue, red, one of the solid color masks, right? Of course, we prefer if everybody comes in a Steths mask. But if you tell us that you can't afford it and you get 2, then we're not going to tell you to put it down and go buy a Steths one.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Any other question? Questions? Donna Mesado. Can you unmute yourself and go ahead? Donna?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Donna, your line is bad. Donna, all right, so you, Victoria, did you want to speak?
Yes, Mr. Wellington. Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. I'm Tiffany Peart, mommy. Tiffany moving on to 11th grade. But where I live in Seaview, at Lower Southfield, we haven't got internet. So for the extra works for her to put in at night, really, I don't know how she's gonna manage because I haven't got no internet and she's been working consistently. Every teacher that she has at Steths can tell you that she's a child who would work consistently. She'll be coming to school, I think it's Monday, to do some volunteer work. I'm not really though, I'm really not in Jamaica now, but she's gonna travel with Mrs. Levy. But the internet access is basically our situation. That's the problem we have.
Okay, all right, so here our solution to that now. What we understand that, and that is the case with many of our students. So what what we have in place, for our online platforms, we have asked all the teachers to ensure that whatever they do can remain in those online classrooms. So for example, if they have a Google class, and they did a particular topic, all the work done, so whether it's video or printed material, all of it will remain so that the student can access it at a time that is convenient to them, right? So what we want to do is to make the material, whatever we are using, available offline as well as online, right? So it may not be the same for the student who has to access it offline, but at least they will have access to the resources that the teachers would have shared, right? And again, that is one of the reasons why we want the students to get back to school, because of course the facilities would provide greater convenience for them. All right?
Yes, because she'll be moving on to 11th grade, and trust me, I must applaud those teachers that taught her at Steths, who is teaching her now, because even for Father's Day, she called up every teacher and she congratulated them, having mommy congratulating them for Happy Father's Days and so forth, and Happy Teacher's Day. But the thing is, as I said, during the night, our internet, basically I had to keep buying data for her.
Yeah.
And then I live down in that little bottom, the phone don't really pick up at night. That's a problem I have, Mr. Wellington, but the teachers them can tell you she works consistently with them. And I must say, big up to those teachers that she teaches her. I don't know for the rest of parents, but I can talk about those teachers at Steths. So my only issue is with the internet access at night, because I have a friend who she would go up to her house during the day and Beverly would have her use her internet there.
All right, all right. As I said, we will try. We understand that, and the teachers understand, and so we'll be trying to work around issues like those.
Okay, Mr. Wellington.
All right, thank you.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Altia, you still want to speak? Or Denise? Altia Forbes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
What about the surgical mask?
The surgical mask? Yeah, man. If they can wear it.
Can it be worn to school?
Yes, but remember it's disposable, you know, so they shouldn't be wearing more than once.
My son. Yeah, just like how you say about the N95 mask. N95 mask cannot be worn for the whole day too.
Right. That's what. Right. So that's what we're saying. And as a matter of fact, as you mentioned that too, it may be a good idea for students to have multiple masks to wear to take to school. So at some point in time in the day, they can change. They can change.
The reason being for me asking this question is because my son is an asthmatic, but he hasn't had an attack since he's been coming to school. So I would want him to have the school mask as well, plus the disposable surgical mask.
Okay.
So that's why I'm asking.
It's breathing better, yeah. And that is important too. Please make sure that they understand that they need to ensure that the mask is comfortable. Right? It should be covering the entire face. All right, but
Yes,
it
sir.
should be comfortable, right?
Yes, sir. And one other thing, when do you say is registration day for grade 10, sir? August 24?
I'm going to ask somebody, Mr. Kogel, to check and get back to us. It's the week of August 24. I'm not sure exactly which day. So, Mr. Kogel, can you just find out for me? Call one of the ladies and find out for me. All right.
Yes, sir.
Denise. Denise, you can unmute yourself if you still want to speak. Not Del Perry can go ahead. Del Perry. No, all right. Please remember to.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wellington.
All right, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
There's two questions I have. One about the mask.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned something about $100 and $300 for the school. Is that correct?
Yes, I said that the school mask is for $300. So those are sold at the tuck shop, the gift shop. Students can buy those. But I was saying that we are not allowing anybody on the campus without a mask. So if they turn up at the gate, even if they're telling us that they're going to buy a mask at the thing, they are not going to be allowed on the campus. So we have some $100 masks, the I-95 mask at the gate that they would have to buy for $100 and then come on and buy the school mask. So it is best if they wear one from home, right? But we have some at the gate just to ensure that if anybody comes without a mask, they can buy one before they are allowed on campus.
One that I'm interested in is for the school, but it's going around in the text that is for $500. I want you to correct that for me, please.
No, it's not $500. We had some masks now with the crest printed in color. I think it's $500 for those, but those are not the ones that we'll be selling as a school mask. We have some. The school mask will be blue and yellow with the crest on it. Not blue with the crest or yellow with the crest, but blue and yellow with the crest. It's not $500. It's $300.
Okay, because you mentioned something that we should have multiples, and if you're gonna buy multiples, then it should have too expensive for $5.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have to buy it from us neither. Remember that. I'm not asking, I've said it clearly. You don't have to buy a school mask. You can't get a mask from anywhere. Just make sure that it is a solid color, black, white, blue, red, yellow. Not the multicolored and not any branding with no advertisement and no writing and no picture of skull and dead man and them something. All right?
Okay, and the next question. When going to the tuck shop for break or lunch, does it have any limited how much will be there at a time?
Yes, those areas are marked. They are marked, there are signs and markings as to say where students should stand and wait. So I can't tell you what the number is, but obviously there's a limit. And as well, we will have those areas be monitored by persons whose responsibility is just to see that persons are practicing the physical distancing. Also, remember I said that we will not have a limited break or lunch time. So break time won't be just the half hour that it used to be. Break time will be right throughout the morning, and lunchtime right throughout the day, maybe starting from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Right, so that persons can go and get their lunch at different times. All right. Also, I see a question in the chat about the fact that the virus can stay on different surfaces, and that is why we are asking that persons be responsible. It's not just that you pass it off from your nostrils or your mouth and it goes directly to the person. It can be left on a desk or on a railing or on a counter or something like that, right? So what we're asking is, first of all, I know students are very touchy. Them love to touch, right? Obviously, it's a habit that is hard to break, but what we are saying is, one, keep your hands clean, wash your hands as often as free as possible. We'll be putting in about 30 wash stations right across the campus, including on each corridor near the doorways, so they can wash their hands very frequently. We are asking, or importantly, that every student comes with their own little sanitizer, so you can keep sanitizing your own hand. right? And of course, we will be sanitizing. The place will be sanitized at least twice per day, but we'll try the high use areas. So for example, the doorknobs, no doors will be left closed, so they don't have to open any door. The counters, so for example, the rails in the tuck shop, those will be sanitized right throughout the day. Where they have rails that students normally stand on, we will ensure that we keep sanitizing them throughout the day, but that none of that is as important as the student keeping themselves clean and try to avoid touching and all of that over the place. All right?
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Excuse me, sir.
Somebody else, who's next?
Excuse me, sir. Good evening.
Yes, go ahead, TC user.
I was asking if soap would be provided at the
All right,
washing
so,
stations.
yeah, at the wash stations, soap is provided. So so in the bathrooms, we will have hand dryers, electronic hand dryers, and we're begging the students, just dry your hand with it and stop interfere with them. Right? One of them costs more than $30,000. Right? So just use them like how they are to be used. Right? But soap, okay. Liquid soap will be at each station. All right. I see a question. My brother has asthma and he travels in a public bus. Should he be present at school every day? Now that is a decision that obviously the child is susceptible to asthma and it is something that troubles him frequently. Then you may have to consider keeping the child at home. But that is a discussion that we're going to ask that you have with us, so that we know for each case, let us deal with it case by case. But the safe thing to do, the first option, is to think about keeping the child at home. If they have an illness that is going to be them prone, if they catch COVID, it may put them at risk, right? So remember, asthma common difference, and some persons it really doesn't bother them. They will go years without it bother them. But if it is somebody who has had frequent attacks, the option is to keep them at home. All right? All right. All right. Anybody else wants to ask a question?
Hello?
Yes.
Good evening.
Hold on. We have two persons. Donna Misada goes first.
Yes, sir. I have a daughter, Matilda. She is asthmatic. What I want to find out is, does she has to come to school every day, or can she
Right, so I just answered.
Tomorrow, you're already on your signal bus. Which one?
All right, Donna, I just answered that question, just before I asked you to speak. So rather than us wasting time answering the same questions, could you please just please listen so that I don't have to repeat the same questions, right? So I said to you that first of all, I've done a survey. Let me just share with you. There's a survey that we have sent out. If you look at your screen, you will see that 169 parents have responded so far. But let me just share the question with you. So it's a survey.
Okay, I'm seeing it, sir. Yes.
Right. So I've sent out the link. If you haven't gotten the link, I hope it gets around to you in short order. But the same way you got the link for the meeting, it should be sent to you via that medium. So it's a survey that we're asking parents to answer. What is your name? That's the parent's name. What is the name of your child? Which grade will your child be entering in September? Does your child suffer from any illness, which puts them at risk if they contract COVID? Does your child suffer from any of the following? And I've listed the illnesses: asthma, diabetes, epilepsy, shortness of breath, cancer, heart condition, sickle cell, high blood pressure, or other medical condition, or none of the above. And are you comfortable with your child returning to regular classes in September? How will your child get to school in September? Does your child own a smartphone? Does your child own a laptop? Do you have internet access at home? What do you use when you are at home? So I've shared that questionnaire so that you can give me the information so that we can make decisions about who comes to school, right? For the questionnaire, so far, so nobody will see your responses, right? The only person who will see your response, it is me. I am the only person who will see your response. what we will
Okay.
get, the questionnaire will come back and I will get something looking like this. So I'll get everybody's name, say everybody, all the parents' name. I'll get the children name who have responded. I'll get a graph. So which grade will your child be responding to? So far we have 31% saying grade 11. So that's 53 grade 11 parents have responded, right? 65 grade 10, 39 grade 8, and so on. Then we asked, what does your child suffer from any illness? 78% of the parents says no, right? And 21% says yes. So 135% said no. 135% said no, no illness. 36 says yes. Then does your child suffer from any of the following? We have 73% saying they suffer from no illnesses, right? The biggest issue seems to be asthma, where 28 parents say their child suffer from asthma. We have a few saying diabetes, a few saying shortness of breath, and so on, right? So I will use that data to make a final decision as to what happens, right? And one of the questions, are you comfortable with your child returning to regular classes? 54% said yes, they are comfortable. 33 said they are not sure, and 11% said they know. So 20 parents so far say they are not comfortable with their children returning to school. 58 says they are not sure, and 93 said yes, they are comfortable. So I want everybody to answer the question here, so that I can have a good feel of what is it that we have to deal with, and we can make decisions, and I can get back to you before we reopen, right?
Okay, sir. Thanks very much. Have a good evening.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Any other person wants to ask a question?
Mr. Wellington, good evening, sir.
Yes, go ahead, Neil.
Mr. Wellington, good evening, sir.
Good evening, go ahead.
Yes, I want to make an observation.
Yeah.
We are now in the COVID period when a lot of parents are stopped working, being laid off. Why is the school fee being increased, sir?
The school fee has not increased, sir. We have not increased our school fee. If your child is going to grade 10 or 11, it means that you would pay more than the parents whose children going to grade 10 and 11, they normally pay more school fee than the grades 8 and 9. Reason being that the grades 10 and 11 students are involved in a lot of practical work that requires us to provide a lot of material. In this time, I think that for parents who are laid off, it's a blessing that we would have, that our school fee structure is the way it is. Because if we don't do it that way, then for example, if your child does electrical or home ec, well, every grade 10 and 11 student have to do a practical. So all of them does practical. If we were to pass on the cost of the practical to you, so for example, for electrical, if we were to say to you that for this term, your child will be building circuits. So you need to provide us with the child needs to have a socket. They need one length of wire, and they need 2 fuse. If we were to do that, you couldn't pay for your child to attend Steths. So what we do is we collect the contribution from everybody so that everybody have a fair chance to go to class and have the material available, sir. And it has not increased. We have not increased our fees. All right?
Okay, sir. Thanks a lot.
All right. Good, good. All right. And as a matter of fact, since as we have mentioned that too, we have grade 11. Traditionally at Steths, we have a lot of parents, by the time the children gets to grade 9, they stop paying the fees, and by the time they get to grade 11, they have this whole bag of money that is outstanding. It doesn't make sense, because at the end of grade 11, we are going to collect it. So rather than having it accumulate to $40,000, if you pay the $10,000 a year, then when the time comes for grade 11, you won't have that large amount of money outstanding, right? So we are encouraging you to pay. We're encouraging you to pay the school fees. We have a very big plan that costs a lot to run. Light bill alone amounts to $800,000 per month. Right, $800,000 per month. So
yeah.
And the online, I can tell you for online classes, we had to pay $550 per month to use Google platform over the period, right? All of these things cost, and internet bill and all of those things. So when we ask you to pay $10,000 or $11,000 per year for school fee, really we're not asking you to make a contribution. That That is, you pay more than that for bus fare for 2 weeks. All right? All right, any other questions? And there are some questions in the chat that I will answer shortly. All right?
Blessings again.
Yes, is it Tavi?
Tevi.
Go ahead.
Just an observation. In terms of internet,
yes,
how feasible would it be at this time to, for those who have reliable internet at home, to have those students stay home, so that would somehow reduce the amount of persons at school, and then those who don't really have reliable internet would be the ones who go to school.
All right. So the issue we have with that is something that is being considered, and there is an option that schools are considering. The issue we have with that, though, is, for example, if a child is in 7A, or 2 children are in 7A, and one stays home and one stay at class. For that to work, it means that the teacher would have to, one out of 2 things, either teach twice, teach the same class twice, so have an online class and have a face-to-face class. Or the more feasible option would be for the teacher to have the class and stream the class activities from the classroom. Bearing in mind that we have at Steths at any one time, we may have as many as 70 classes. We may have as many as 70 classes going at one time. It would mean that right throughout the day, we would have to be streaming 70, 80 classes on at any one time. Unfortunately, Jamaica don't have that sort of bandwidth that would allow us to do that. If it was 2 or 3 classes going on at the same time from here, then it probably would be feasible. All right, so the online activities would have to be offline. Well, the online classes, we would have to focus on doing delayed thing, all right?
Yeah, that was going to be the other question, if it wouldn't be a delayed kind of a...
But we did say that, no, we did say that we will, all the work that will be done, every teacher will have an online classroom. So every teacher is going to have an online classroom, and everything that is done for the year, all the work that is done for a particular class will be in that teacher's classroom. So the students will have access to it whether or not they are at school. It's just that the interaction, the online, the real-time interaction is not going to be possible all the time.
Yeah, understood.
Right. I remember the transition, for example, for a teacher, just to make sure everybody understands. If I'm a teacher and I have a class from 9 to 10 in 7A, right? I then don't have to move from 7A to 7B. How do I set up that online class at 10 o'clock with no time in between classes? All right? All right?
Yeah, we know it's kind of crazy, and all of this is new to everybody.
Yeah.
And as we go along, we'll have to work things out. So
yes, yeah. All right. Any other question? All right, just one. All right, one person at a time. All right, so we had 3 persons wanting to speak. Can we go with Maureen? Sorry, who?
Hello.
All right, Ms. Rogers, go ahead.
Yes, good night, Mr. Wellington. Good night, parents.
Good night.
And regarding to the mask, wearing the mask can be very challenging. What I'm suggesting, I don't know if parents will agree with me, to let their children walk with room temperature water so they can sip on it. Lift the mask and sip on the water, because the mask let the throats become dry. The next question, sir, really, hand wash station, how often will that area be sanitized?
Right throughout the day.
Good question.
Right throughout the day. Right throughout the day.
Thank you very much. And sir, I must commend you, because I came by the school with your entire staff. You're doing a good job so far. And we as parents, we are working hard as well. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thanks for the support as well, because that makes it a lot easier. Ms. Rogers?
Yes, Mr. Wellington.
Go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Who's Andrea?
Yes, Andrea.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Wellington. Parents of Joshua Niels, 9C, moving on to grade 10. The question I'd like to ask is, owing to the fact that they have missed us so much during the last school term, as it relates to extra classes, would you be able to shed any light on that to say whether or not you will have extra classes during the month of September onward, or we would have to wait until the green light is given?
All right, so I think that there are individual teachers, especially the science teachers, who, and for students going into grade 11 in particular, where there will be extra classes, right? But as I said before, one of the strategy that we're going to use is the online classes. So we'll have the regular classes throughout the days, throughout the week, where everybody will be, or most persons will be in attendance, but we'll slip in online classes. Each teacher will slip in online classes, probably in the evenings. So your child may say that, boy, I have a maths class at 7 o'clock tonight, right? Or I have chemistry class at 8 o'clock. We're not going to make them overburden them, but we'll slip in those maybe on a weekend, or during the thing their break, the different breaks, the Christmas break or the Heroes Weekend break. So we'll slip in the online classes from time to time. And of course, I'm sure teachers will have extra lessons as well.
Right. Okay, sir. Thank you very much, and continue to do the very hard work that you're doing. And we are willing as parents to work along with you to make Steths a better place for our kids.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Ms. Rogers, you wanted to speak? I'm not hearing you. You see, I'm unmuted, but I'm not hearing you.
Yes, sir. I did say my little bit. I said my little bit before. Okay. I was raising my hand, but I was not acknowledged at the time. So what I was saying regarding to the child wearing the mask, we can let them walk with a bottle of room temperature water so they can sip on it, because the mask, having on the mask for a period of time, your throat becomes dry. So they can sip on the water to prevent them from coughing.
Right, and that's a good suggestion. Encourage everybody to walk with their water bottles, right? And also, yes, what we'll be doing, the mask, we don't expect them to have on the mask continuously from they come to school and don't take it off all day, right? So teachers will be a little bit more relaxed in terms of allowing students to leave the classroom for a breather, right? So students will be allowed to go outside, take down the mask once there's nobody around, so that they can breathe for a while. And of course, as you know, Steths is a large campus. So what we'll be doing is having areas around the campus that are designated areas where students can go and sit by themselves, or if they want to sit in a small group, there's a whole lot of space that they can take off the mask and stay 6 feet or 10 feet from each other. But what we will be doing is trying to make sure that there are persons supervising those areas. Right? So we know that it's difficult for them to abide by the rules. So what we will do, what we're trying to do, one of the things that we have asked the ministry to do is to provide us with some extra hands in terms of people who are just responsible for monitoring. Because you know that the teachers will be going to classes. When teachers are not in class, we'll ask them to be mobile around the campus, just to monitor and make sure that persons are abiding by the policies. All right.
Okay, sir.
All right. Let me answer a couple questions that are in the chat. Good, Mr. Wellington, what about sports and training? Please, can you answer? Very important about my son. All right, so sports and training. So we using a different hat now. In my role as president of ISA, I have had to be I've had to take responsibility for discussing and put in place the necessary measures where sports is concerned. So I've been working very closely with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Sports, as well as the national sporting bodies, as it relates to how sports should be reintroduced in schools. I think I'm very proud of us as principals because we have actually been leading the way and providing advice to the different organizations. And so we have put in place some measures that we have recommended to schools to say that if we're going to play sport, because in order for us to play sport, we have to first of all determine that it's safe to do so and students will not be put at greater risk by involving in sports. So the standard that we have set is to say that if we are going to have sports, the students who are going to participate should not be at greater risk than if they had stayed in their classrooms. That's the standard that we have set, and we have put in place some measures to say that this is what is expected at training, this is what is expected at competition, and if we are going to play, these are the conditions that must exist. So in terms of where the games are going to play, the procedures and so on. So right now we are not extremely sure that we will have sporting competitions, but we are planning to, and if it is safe to do so, we will be having them. For physical education classes, we have worked with the Ministry of Education to put in place a protocols for all schools at all levels, starting from primary school, as to what should be done in PE classes, and that will be made available to all schools. Just to say that in reality, it is safer, you are less likely to catch COVID on the outside than you are on the inside. So students who have classes on the outside, they're actually safer than those who have on the inside, once they are practicing the same sort of etiquette in both places. So that's one question. If a parent is not living with the child, should the parent or guardian complete the link? Yes, man. Once it's your child, we want the link to be completed. All right. Somebody say, I'm not hearing clearly, so I'm not sure if it was addressed. Yes, it was addressed. Students are expected to be at school every day, or they can be at school every day, right? If there are special circumstances that don't allow them, or they are better off staying at home, then that is something that we will discuss and allow. But we are going to make provisions for students to be at school every day, right? And again, we understand the situation. Some parents have to go to work. They will have 12, 13-year-old kids that they would be leaving at home, and we don't want that to happen. We noticed that the statistics have shown that students have gotten into real serious problems over the last 4 months while they have been at home. And we think that many of them are better protected, better suited. We can meet their needs better if they are at home, especially if we have the support of the parents. Questions? Ms. Freckleton, do you have any questions? Ms. Freckleton?
No, sir.
No questions? All right, do we have anybody else? Tyra Lewis, you
yes,
want to?
Sir.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good night, sir.
Good night.
For students who do practical subject, especially the grade 10 going to grade 11, will they do the practicals that were planned?
All right, this is the water. And this is the
All right, so if you had practicals planned, you're asking if you had practicals plans, if they are going to be done?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and that is one of the reasons why I said that I think some of the grade 11 teachers, because the same teachers who teach in grade 10 will be teaching you in grade 11 unless they are not going to be at Steths. All right, so they will know where you are and they will make the arrangements for you to catch up with those practical work. In some cases, they may call you in a day before, school reopens just to tell you what needs to be done so that we can, as I said, hit the ground running.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right, Elizabeth Dyer. Elizabeth, your hand is up. Let me unmute you. Sure.
Good
Yeah,
night, Mr. John.
Good morning.
My daughter is going into grade 11. However, last year I paid $17,000 for her school fee, and the school fee was $12,000.
Yes.
The breakdown that I got is still saying $10,700. What do I do?
All right, so without seeing it, it's saying you owe 10,000. Does it say credit or debit?
So I should be credited $5,000 because an additional $5,000 was paid for last year.
All right, and is that noted on the form?
It is not.
The state? All right, so just send it back in. Did you submit the voucher, by the way?
The last year voucher?
Yeah.
No, I did not.
No, but if you don't submit the voucher, we don't know that you pay.
No, you know, the voucher was submitted when she came to school last
year. All right,
year.
so just ask her to take back the statement and have it rectified.
Okay, sir. And for the practical areas, I know they have 3 SBAs for food, nutrition and health and family and resource management. They will be able to do those throughout the year, grade 11.
Yeah, I think for food and nutrition, I think it has to be done by November. But remember, everybody's in the same position though, so we will have it worked out.
Okay, sir.
Galaxy A20. Galaxy A20.
No, what else?
All right, no. All right, Sharon Robinson, you had your hand up again. Sharon?
Yes, Mr. Wellington.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to ask about the lunch and the break period. That you said the students would be free to just go have their food. How will that be monitored?
All right, so first of all, there will still be the lunch and break period. So it doesn't mean that there will be no break or lunch period. What we're going to be encouraging the teachers to do is to first of all allow the students time outside of their class during regular class. So for example, in a class of 25, you're doing work and 2 students finish 20 minutes before. Normally, the student would have to stay in class and find something else to do. What we'll do is now ask the teacher to allow that child to leave so that they don't have to wait on all 25 students to be outside, right? So what we're doing, as I said, it's going to be a rolling lunch and break period per se.
Okay, because I was wondering how the students would be monitored if they just go outside. If they don't come back, who will know that this one is outside for 2 hours now or 1 hour?
No. Remember, everybody has a timetable and every teacher has a register, so they would know that the child is not in class and should be at school.
Okay, because you have those roaming ones that go out and don't go to the other
but if they are, but listen, this is Steths. If they are outside, somebody knows that they are outside. So they wouldn't be just hanging around. We have corridor passes. So when students are allowed outside of their class, they will have a corridor pass and you know which teacher's pass it is. That is not something I think that parents. That is something. Sorry.
Will it have the time on it?
No, but listen, that is a detail that a parent shouldn't be concerned about. It is something that's operational that the school needs to make sure it works. If you find out that your child not going to class as a result of that, then that's a different situation. But I don't think we could use PTA meeting to describe how every single function at Steths works.
Okay.
And we have an interest in ensuring that students are in class. We don't want students to be outside running up and down.
Well, it was cleared up after you said after they finished their work, because I didn't get that point first.
Okay, yeah, man.
I thought it was gonna whenever they feel like they.
No. It couldn't be whenever they feel like. It couldn't be whenever they feel like.
After they finish their work, that's different.
Yeah, man. Because for example, a student in a welding class, you have 20 students in the welding class. Right, there are times when the student is sitting and not doing anything because it's a practical class, and you only have 6 torches or 6 torch. So a teacher can say, you go and get your ticket for lunch from now.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Mrs.
All right.
Good. Mrs. Martin, I think, has her hand up.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening on behalf of everyone. Good evening on behalf of everybody.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, parents. Just 2 notes here. I know some persons will be worried about the hand sanitizers. What you could do is also get alcohol and have the child travel with the alcohol, because it's just as good, because it has the 70% in it, instead of, because to help
the one
us
that they can drink
in maintaining the standard.
No,
Mrs. definitely not.
And I probably want you to withdraw that, because some will take it until it's to clean their hands. So let me withdraw that on behalf of the principal. Sanitizer, no alcohol.
All right then. Sanitizer, okay. Next thing we just want to thank Miss Williams and her team. They have been doing some beautification at the school in the area where we have by the Aki tree. So I just want to say how appreciative we are of your efforts, and we look forward to your continued assistance and work throughout the year. All right, so thank you very much, Ms. Williams, on behalf of the Steths family.
Thank you very much, Ms. Martin, and we know Mrs. Williams is always very helpful.
Let me hear them in.
All right. Just a couple other questions. Students will collect their rental. Oh, somebody answered. Good. Mr. African answered. Contact for teachers. Remember that every one of your children should have a contact for their teacher, because they would have been a part of the online classes. But also every parent should be in a year group WhatsApp group. So if you need contact, just send a message in the group to get the contact. Dennis, is it Dennis Brooks? Denise.
Good night.
Good night.
Question. I wasn't on from the start. I wasn't getting through, and I'm hardly hearing. School is gonna be every day?
School is going to be every day. Grade 10 and 11 students start on Wednesday, September 9th. And we will have classes every day for grade.
When school start?
For September 9th for grades 10 and 11. Grade 7 and 8 will start on September 7th. That's Monday, September 7th for grade 7 and 8. Grade 9 comes in on the Tuesday, September 8th. Sorry. Yes, let me go again. Grade 7 and 8 starts on Monday, September 7th. Grade 9 joins them on Tuesday, September 8th. And grades 10 and 11 join on Wednesday, September 9th.
Okay. Can the school fee be paid online?
Not yet, but by next week we'll tell you. We'll tell you. Well, it can be paid online, but we'll send out the instructions next week. There's also a suggestion that because of what's happening with the bank, with the lines and so on, we may put aside one day at the school where persons can come in and pay by cash, but we'd have to make the necessary security arrangements. So we would have to communicate which day that will be.
That wouldn't be working for me because I'm in Kingston at work, so the online banking would be much better for me.
All right, so you can get the account information and you can pay it online.
And about the masks, I made 6 masks for my son. I made them with the school color, but I made like inside yellow and the next side blue. 2 colors.
That's fine.
Is that
That's
okay?
fine. That's fine. That's fine. All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good. I don't know if Galaxy A20 really wanted to speak. His hand has been, or the hand has been up, but I'm not hearing from them. Galaxy A20. All right. I'm going to, the forms that I shared earlier, once you put you answer the questionnaire, then it asks for your numbers. So we will make sure that we record the numbers and have you included in the WhatsApp group. So please complete the forms. Please complete the forms with information, and we will add the numbers to the different year group WhatsApp group so that you get the messages if you have not been getting them. I think that we have answered all the questions. Are there any more questions? Books, let me just speak to the matter of rental books. Grade 9 students, you are going to be expected to hand in your books. You will be told when your books are to be handed. All students will be told when your books will be handed in, but it will not be on registration day. Right? Of course, the grade 10 students going to grade 11, they keep their books, so they won't be handed in their books. Right? Are there any questions? If there are no other questions, I think we would have had a very good meeting, 1.5 hours exactly almost, which is very good. Ms. Freckleton?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Some parents in the grade 9 group, that's students going to grade 10, They weren't able to log on, sir. It kept saying, please wait. They're asking when they will get the link to watch it on YouTube.
All right, so I will try and upload the link tonight. But isn't it on Facebook? It should be on Facebook.
Okay, sir. I'm going to check and make sure.
Yeah, but I'll also be putting it on Facebook. If it's not there now, I'll put it up shortly this evening, along with on YouTube. All right. So those persons who the entire meeting has been recorded and will be placed on our YouTube channel, Steths Online. So you can go there or ask parents who did not get the chance to attend to just go on the YouTube channel and they'll be able to watch the meeting. All right. Let me thank you very much for being here and for participating so well. I think the questions were very good questions and it allowed us to cover all that we wanted to share with you. And for those parents who were not here, when they watch it, they'll hear the questions, they'll get answers. They'll get answers so that they'll get the information. So thank you very much. Just want to say as well that based on where we're going, obviously this will be a method that we will have to use from time to time for our meetings. And so I want to encourage you to share the links when you get them with your colleagues so that everybody can participate. We know that it is a challenging time. For your students in grades 10 and 11, it's particularly challenging because they don't have a lot of time left in school. And so whatever time is lost is probably twice as valuable as for the child who is a year below them in grade 9 or 10 or 8 or 7. But as I've said repeatedly, a lot of responsibility lies with the students. They have to make sure that they make use of whatever time we have. They have to recognize if they are in grade 11, going into grade 11, they don't have a year in grade 11, right? They have what, 9 months before the exam start. And so we have to make best use of all the time that we have. You would have been out of school for 4 or 5 months, which in itself is unheard of. It is the first in your lifetime, well, in the child's lifetime, they would have been out of school so long. I hope that they would have made use of the time. If not, they have to recognize that there's no more holiday left before they graduate at the end of grade 11. So there's no Christmas holiday, no Easter holiday, no Heroes Day weekend. All of this time has to be used to make up for the time that has been lost, right? So over the next 10 months or so, we have to make sure that our children make use of the time, use it wisely, right? So I want to thank you very much. I want to thank you very much, and I want to thank you for the support that you have been giving as parents. I want to encourage you to continue to work with them. I want to say to you as well as parents, I want to say to you as parents that we have to understand that as a school, part of our responsibility along with that of the parents is not just to get them to pass subjects. And so a lot of the discussions that are taking place publicly about what is important for students, what stops them from learning and what doesn't stop them from learning, please remember that these young people that we are grooming, they are the persons who are going to be our doctors and our lawyers, right? And they are the ones who are going to be the models in society. So it can't be that all we want them to do is to pass their exam. And it don't matter what time they come to school or how they come to school or how they behave. That can't be the reality of our situation. So as parents, I'm saying to you from now, please remember that part of what makes a person a good person is the ability of that person to be selfless, to not be selfish, and not just think about what they are entitled to and what is their own rights, right? But also to consider how is it what they can do will affect the next person who can do the same thing, right? And so they have to sacrifice their own good to ensure that the other persons are protected. And it can't be that everybody wants to have their own rights and ensure that they are able to get their own rights, right? Because if we do that, if we are able to do that, if all of us are able to have our own rights, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have rights now or that our rights should be trampled on, right? There are some rights that we should always ensure that we have, but there are some rights that are also privileges that we should earn, right? And we should not be telling our children that they have rights. Well, we should tell them that they have rights and their rights should be protected. but we have to determine what our rights and what our privileges, right? And what right we can live without, and what right is trampling on our dignity, right? So when we say that it is our right to dress how the way we want, right? Is it that if your dressing is not dignified, it is not our business, or it is not your business as a parent, if we do not think that it dignifies our existence or our family name or our school culture?
Mr.
We want to ensure that the rights of everyone is protected, but we also want to remind ourselves, as I say, when I talk to our students about rules, and sometimes they curse about how the rule foolish. Every single rule that is made, you just go to your bed and think about it. Every single rule that is made to stop somebody from doing what they would naturally want to do. So the Bible have 10 commandments, and all 10 commandments, if they did not exist, most of us would want to have 5 partners and have sex with 5 or 6 different persons. Most of us would want to have sex with all, well, not most of us, but many of us would not respect the relationship that 2 other persons are in. Many of us would not, it is not because we don't want to take something that don't belong to us, but it is because we have learned that it is not correct. Why we don't steal, we don't take something that don't belong to us. But our natural inclination would be to pick a mango that we see hanging off a tree. But because we've learned not to take something that don't belong to us, we don't take it, and it is a rule that stops us from doing it. But what would be wrong for us to sit 100 mangoes on a man's tree and pick one? But it doesn't belong to us. A rule says that if it doesn't belong to us, we don't take it. Our cars are built to drive at 220 kilometers per hour, but no road in Jamaica allows us to drive more than 110.
Right.
So why don't I have the right to drive my car at 200 kilometers per hour when I feel like? I am capable of doing it, and my car is a 2020 vehicle. It is in good condition. But why can't I exercise my right to drive? Because our rule says that it is best if everybody drive within the speed limit to keep each other safe.
So
I want to say to you as parents, don't make anybody fool you, right? There are many times when people make pronouncements because it is the popular things to say.
Yes.
Don't think about the repercussions. And there are things that many of us will die for, irrespective of who says what.
True.
So while we sit with our children and we have these discussions, just remind them that there's a place and time for everything. It doesn't matter what our rights are.
Sir.
There's still a place and time for everything.
Everything, yes.
Right? And therefore you encourage them. Encourage them to make the sacrifices, to wait to do what they want to do now, because now is not the time for it.
Right.
And we will find out, despite what people say about what stop people from learning, we will find out that it is the ones who are disciplined and who are able to make these sacrifices who are the ones who are going to do best.
Amen.
So parents, have the conversation, and let us work together to ensure that the persons who are going to be taking care of me and you when we reach nursing home are the persons who can follow the rules.
Sure.
All right? Ms. Williams, why you put up your hand after I finish talking? You can have the last say, madam. Ms. Williams? You can have the last say.
Me?
Yeah, yes. We're hearing you.
Okay, my apology. I think I was raising my hand before, but I wasn't following the right procedure. So thank you for acknowledging me. Really, thanks, Mrs. Martin. And we continue to try to do our best. Mr. Wellington, thanks for the info. I missed a little part of it in the beginning, but I think I can really catch up with that. But I want to say highest commendation. I feel really special being a part of the Steths family, that you know, you could have, along with the administrative body, to ensure that we are on top of things and to make sure that the information that is necessary for us to progress with our children continues. We really want to thank you too, sir, for those encouraging words at the end. In other words, you're not just concerned about our students making grades that make the school look recognizable as a standard school, but you're concerned about them and their holistic development. We really appreciate it, and we say highest commendation to you and the staff, and we pray God's continued blessings for the Steths School family, and all the best to my fellow parents that are online. God bless you, sir.
All right, and I'll take that as the vote of thanks. So thank you very much, parents, and you'll hear from us again before school reopens. Please remember to do the survey and share the link with other parents.
Okay, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the Independence Day. Go and listen to some festival song, and those who can dance and sing along, and make them hear the song them. And
You too.
all right, great.
At this time, we have it on the news now. In the last 24 hours, we have 30 new cases of CO.
Yeah.
We have 30 cases for the last 24 hours. That's not so much of a good news.
No,
we
and
just
that's
have
why we have to keep working, and that's why I said to you that we'll get back to you, because things can change. Remember, things can change between now and September. So everything that we have discussed can come to naught. Right?
Exactly.
So it depends on what is happening. But you'll hear back from us, right?
Okay, sir. Good night.
Bye. Thank you.
Good night, sir.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Mr. Winter. Good night, parents.
Good night. Good night.
Night, everyone.
All right, sir. All right, sir.
Good night, everyone.